We're gonna do a pitch session. Basically, don't have anything for this movie. It's a road trip buddy comedy. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is exactly what I'm going for. And I just read the script to kind of get the vibe, and honestly, a lot of it's just comedy banter between the two.
Yeah.
It's just, we're gonna get there. This is how we're gonna get there. Let's try it. Failed. Now what?
Yeah.
It's all you. You fucked everything up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you fucked it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, look, we could try this other way. Fail. That's every moment is that in the movie. So the big thing for this movie is finding more of those bigger fun and games to get them to be forward, back to where they need to go. So the movie's called Key West. I really would love Jason Bateman, Will Arnett. The Will Arnett is going to Key West for a Jimmy Buffett concert, and Jason Bateman's going for his daughter's wedding.
A parrot head.
Parrot head. He's a massive parrot head.
Yes.
So it starts with a Jimmy Buffett song, of course, and they're setting up wedding decor on a beach, putting out chairs, and you see a bride getting her makeup done, and she's like, I got to call my dad. I got to see where he is. Cut to the airport, and he wakes up. He's been sleeping there. His flight was canceled the night before, and it's the day of the wedding.
Okay.
And she's like, they have a great relationship. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles makes the wife look like a bitch right away for kind of no reason. I kind of didn't like it. And then she starts thinking he's cheating on her, and I'm like, okay, that makes more sense to why she might have like this issue with like loyalty, even though he's very loyal. So for me, I didn't want that. However, Jason Bateman and his wife are divorced. The daughter's like, hey, I really need you to be here. It starts at 5 o'clock or 4:30, the wedding. You're walking me down the aisle. He's like, I'll be there. The new husband hates Jason Bateman. And he's like, if he's not here, I'm walking you down the aisle. And she's like, I know. And he's like, well, you need someone to be there for you. So you're like, okay, this guy's a complete douche too.
Yeah.
So cut to Jason Bateman at the airport. He's about to get on the airplane, and we're going to just plant that he hates music. He's kind of just like...
hates music.
He
I like
hates
that.
everything.
Yeah.
So he's going in, he gives the boarding pass, and he's fucking disheveled. And the flight attendant's really nice. And she's like, okay. She takes the boarding pass, or scans it. And she's like, so are you going, I'm guessing you're going for the concert. Are you excited? And he's like, no concert. I actually... I hate music. I don't understand it. And she's like, well, it's fun. I don't understand. So you go to a concert, and he's like, starts belittling her.
Yeah.
You go to a concert with your significant other, and you just listen to music, and you dance, and you just get all sweaty and weird, and you could just listen to it in your home, in your nice home, and you
don't have to drive.
You don't have to drive, but also even if you're
line.
listening to it in your home, what's with music? It's sound. You sit there, you don't do anything. I really don't understand it.
Nothing.
I feel just nothing for it. I can't understand that. And she's like, okay, sir. And she's like, you're good to go. And then he starts leaving, and she's like, dickhead. And then he comes back, and he's like, what? And she's like, oh, I said have a nice flight. He's like, no, that's another thing that I don't really like. You called me a dickhead, but you wouldn't call it to my face. So, you covered up with have a nice flight doesn't even sound the same. I just don't understand why people do that, why you just can't be straightforward. And it's just so annoying. And I didn't get a lot of sleep here, and I'm just annoyed. And she's like, are you done? And he's like, I'm done. She's like, enjoy your flight. And he's like, dickhead. And he's just like, yeah, that sounds about right.
That's great.
And then he goes into the airplane, and it's all parrot heads. And he's like, what in the colorful fuck is this? And he sits next to Will Arnett. And Will Arnett's just Will Arnett. And he's like, oh, this is going to be great. He's like, got extra pair of headphones for you, like all this stuff. And he's like, I took a shitload of melatonin before I came on this. I'm going to pass the fuck out. And he's like, oh, you're not a parrot head? And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? A parrot head? You like parrots? And he's like, no, Jimmy Buffett. I'm the leader of the Jimmy Buffett fan club. I drove the tour bus for Jimmy Buffett for a couple years.
You're sitting next to Jimmy Buffett royalty?
And Jason Bateman's looking around. He's like, yep, these are all my fan club members. I love them so much. And he's like, yeah, I kind of understand why the seat's open then. And he's like, Well, you're the leader of the fan club. No one wanted to sit next to you, probably because you're fucking annoying. And then he puts like his fucking like something over his ears and his eyes. Mm-hmm. And then he wakes up and he's in the airport and he's just like, what the fuck? And he's like, hey, sleepyhead. Like, and he's like, you passed out on I had to carry you out. And he's like, what? You touched me?
Carry you out.
And this is the first interaction with him where he's like, you're a fucking idiot. And then he goes to rent a car. He rents a car.
So they had to get off the plane for some malfunction or something? He just slept through it?
He slept through the whole flight, and he takes them off, and they're in Florida.
They're in Florida. Yeah. Okay.
So he rents a car, and this is where Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm like, I don't want to rip exactly off, but he rents a car, and it's fine. Mm-hmm. And he drives, and I think where it starts becoming an issue is maybe the car breaks down before the bridge. There's like a very long bridge that goes into Key West.
Yep.
I got to figure out where semantics of like the terminal and everything, or where they land.
So is it like Will rents like the last car or something?
No, so that's exactly what I don't want to do. I don't want to go with the whole rental car.
We have to go
mishap.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
That's like due date. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. So I'm like, let's avoid that because it's a ripoff. He gets a car and it's fine.
Okay.
And then I think he drives, and maybe it breaks down before the bridge or something like that. And then gets picked up by either it gets picked up by Will Arnett or he gets picked up by a fucking truck driver where Will Arnett's already in it. And they go across the bridge. This is already where it gets broken because I'm like, this is the fun and games part. So they go over the bridge. It's not a long. Key West is not very long. So he immediately, there's like traffic jams everywhere because of the concert, because of this. Maybe there's an accident, and he's like, all right, it's not long. I'm going to walk. And it's
and
not
he's
that
like
far.
an hour and a half to showtime kind of thing. Like, is this a real time clock in the movie? Like,
yeah, it has to be a real time clock, but it's probably more like maybe if it's a real time clock, it's an hour and a half. It could be, yeah. I don't see why not. Okay. Because it's not a far walk. It can't take longer than probably like 30 minutes to walk. So he's like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And then Will Arnett tries to help him, and it becomes a nightmare. So I'm thinking they could try to take a boat there. There's no Ubers. The Ubers are all filled. He's like, there's no way you're going to get an Uber. Don't walk. I'll help you. I have a guy. And I'm thinking finding fun and games like boat, kite surfing, like ridiculous things.
What about like a bike or motorcycle cop who's like, oh no, I'll help you out, and he takes him and it like just brings him right to jail, and he's like, wait, what?
I like that
because he looks just like this guy. That's Perfect. Like a guy, you know.
That's exactly what needs to happen.
Okay. And then that's great.
So we need to figure out these fun and games that are like definitely going in jail, definitely getting caught with criminals, definitely. Somehow getting onto a trip where, you know, everyone knows Will Arnett too. We also plant this in the beginning. He gives him a business card. It's a waterproof business card. He's like, don't you just hate when it gets wet? And he's like, what is this? This isn't a thing.
Why would my cards get wet?
My whole wallet would be wet. I would be wet. I wouldn't care about the business card.
Just a beach bum.
Well, so everyone he comes to and tells that to, like, they're like, this is a great idea. My business cards always get wet. And Jason Bateman's like, no, never happens. So I also want to plant that he's having a problem getting there. And we talk to his daughter. Mm-hmm. And his daughter tells the stepdad, like, can you go get him? And of course he's not going to. He just goes to a bar and starts drinking. And that bartender would be great as Sean Hayes, just bringing the smartest people in it. And that has to come back when the guys go there, and it like unravels the whole like stepdad didn't go at all to go find him.
Yep.
He didn't even try.
Yep.
So I don't even really think I have anything else for the middle because it's all has to be that.
Yep.
Back and forth. Yep. And I haven't even looked into researching. I like the motorcycle cop. He's mistaken for somebody else. Will Arnett has some pull, and it is like this like kite surfing thing, and they just bring them around and back. And
this is like, where we started. Oh yeah, it's a loop, man.
It's a loop, exactly.
Paul Rudd from Forgetting Sarah Marshall vibes. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a name. PPOP. The weather outside is weather. So what needs to happen is the all is lost. We learn that Will Arnett, that extra seat, was for his wife, but she passed away.
Oh, okay.
This trip was a long time coming. They knew that Jimmy Buffett was playing here a year or two. She got sick, passed away, and he was holding onto the seat. And then finally he was like, well, I should let the seat go because, my therapist just says I need to find, new friends. And I figured to be a parrot head. It was like completely opposite. It was a guy that hates music.
Yeah.
And Jason Bateman, they basically go with a boat to the end where the ceremony's happening. He actually thinks the ceremony, he missed it because he looks at Will Arnett's phone and he's like, it's 5 o'clock. I missed it. Mm-hmm. And then it's revealed that it's not 5 o'clock. The one guy's like, mentions fucking 5 in the next scene. Well, hey, you have time. It's 4 o'clock. And he's like, what? I looked at your phone. I said 5 o'clock. He's like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So he's like, you leave your phone at 5 o'clock at all times. He's like, yeah, man.
Amen.
Amen. So he's like, I could still make it. So they take this boat in this, I don't know how, I don't know what the scene is, but they are at the ceremony and it's about to start, but it's sandbar. So the guy's like, this is as far as I could take you. Mm-hmm. And Jason Bateman still is not getting along with Will Arnett.
Yeah.
And he just jumps in the water and he's like, goodbye. Like, nice knowing you. Nice meeting you, I guess. This was terrible. And he swims and everyone at the ceremony's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And they see him swimming. He's like, I'm here. Everything's okay. And the daughter's happy. And obviously the stepdad's pissed. Mm-hmm. And she's... Jason Bateman always mentions that he hates... the stupid shirts they wear, the parrot head culture. He's like, I don't even know it. I already hate it.
Yeah.
So the daughter's like, go change. I have your clothes in there. And it's the Hawaiian, it's parrot headed gear. And Will Arnett tells him, like, once you put it on, man, and look at yourself, like, that's the plant. Like,
you'll never go back.
Yeah, and he does that. And he's like, fuck. Like, he looks at himself and he likes it. And he throws his wet clothes on the floor. They walk down the aisle. It's just a nice montage of like the wedding happening. Mm-hmm. And then we hear the officiant, which is like one of her bridesmaids, and she starts talking about friendship and how her and his daughter, whoever's getting married, we'll say Jason Bateman's daughter is Emily. Her and Emily didn't get along at first. Like, that's the greatest part about friendships and relationships. And it's the theme of the movie. Yep. Like, opposites attract. And, we started really becoming attached to the hip, and then she found him and everything's great. And Jason Bateman's watching that and like, okay, I kind of get it. After the wedding, he's just looking out at the water. The daughter comes up. What the fuck happened?
Yep.
And he explains everything. Then you hear the stepdad yelling, and he's like, I'm fucking rich. I could buy this place. And they're like, sir, you're not. There's no reception here. So he fucked up somehow. The reception's not going to happen. And the daughter's like, what is happening? And he's like, I'll figure it out. And Jason Bateman goes back in his room, and he's kind of defeated, and he takes out the business card and sees it, and he texts him. He's just like, and Will Arnett's like, hey, I thought you were supposed to be in the wedding. He's very nice about it. Like, and he's like, the reception was canceled, blah, blah, blah. So Jason Bateman goes up trying to figure it out with his daughter, like how they can get the reception, and then the tour bus shows up and he's driving it.
Oh, that's so good.
And he's like, everyone hop in. And he always mentions like, oh, Jimmy's a good friend. And he's like, sure, dude. You drove a bus for him for a couple months or a year, whatever. They show up to the concert and Jimmy Buffett's there and he's like, I'd do anything for him. He's a great friend. And Jason Bateman's like, fuck.
That's awesome.
So they end up all going into this concert, like backstage. Maybe it's a small wedding, 80 people, 50 people. Yeah. And he starts with playing Margaritaville. And he's like, hey, we have newlyweds come out here. Everyone give it up for the newlyweds. Mm-hmm. And they come out and they start singing start dancing their first dance to Margaritaville.
That's great.
And Will Arnett comes up and he's like, they have that moment of like, so I'm a piece of shit. And they start talking and the chorus comes on and you see Jason Bateman singing it, wasting away. And Will Arnett looks at him and they start singing it together. Looking for my love. Some people say that's a woman to blame. Terrible first dance song. Terrible. But a fun song. Oh, it's so much fun. And that's how it ends. There's so much missing. I just thought of those scenes.
I love it.
Just need a lot of middle fun and games. And trying to get... Basically, Will Arnett just keeps fucking up his plans, but at the same time doesn't because he needs this in his life.
Right.
That's always what it comes down to.
Yep. Everything about this I think is so much fun. What I love about it is that the whole entire process of writing this movie and coming up with it is hinging 100% on Jimmy Buffett liking it, which I think is like the dopest challenge. It's like the pinnacle of a challenge to write a movie, and I just think let's do it. I love that. The cast, it would be hilarious, but I could definitely see this with, like you could. There's a lot of different people that could play those two polar, opposite characters. Yeah, I do think fleshing out the fun and games is kind of the job.
And I think making the stepdad more of a villain, now that you just said that, why is he arrested? I think he should be arrested a little later because the stepdad calls in.
That's nice. Yeah.
This guy stole my wallet and gets faxed in, and he's just at the bar making Jason Bateman's life more miserable every moment of the way.
I think that's a great. I mean, if you add that, make him a villain, figuring out how Jason Bateman gets out of that problem is awesome. And then even bringing that problem all the way to the last moments of the movie, like the cops are still after Jason Bateman. Like that's another problem that he has that gets fixed by Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett's hey,
no.
I like that. Also, I think the cop thing, I did have a little plant where it was very like Training Day plant where he helps some guy at a restaurant in the beginning who is choking on a margarita, a margarita slushie, and he like helps him and he's like, oh, thank you. He's like, he tells him his name and that he's a police officer off duty or whatever. If you need anything, let me know. So when they get arrested by the guy, they're like, wait, Hernandez, your brother, is your brother this? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he was at, and he realizes he's the guy that helped. He's like, yeah, he choked on the margarita.
Yeah.
And he helps him get out of that situation.
Well, it was a margarita and a cheeseburger.
Terrible. Classic Key West. So I think that plant would help him get out, him being like an actual good person. I think the problem is with Steve Martin specifically, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, is that he is very much a dickhead the whole time, works for a company that seems very like kind of stoic, kind of bland, and that he is that, and he needs to break out of that. I don't know if we need to plant kind of a background of Jason Bateman's work life. Why is he late? Why is he... Or is it enough that he's just like, I hate music and I'm kind of this like...
Yeah, I mean, the cliche version and the classic version is he doesn't have a good relationship with the daughter, and so getting there is the thing that he thinks is going to fix it.
I know.
But I don't know.
That's why I made the stepdad kind of the villain and the daughter-dad relationship fine.
I think it's enough that he has to get to the wedding.
Yeah, I mean, it could just also be the classic, he's just more focused on work and that whole scenario of like, he doesn't like music, doesn't care about it because it's not really in his line of work, and he's always overworked. That's why he's oversleeping and all that dumb shit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I think
also
it should come
happenstance
up.
that he missed the flight, and she's like, you should have taken it the day before. He's like, I figured 2 days before. He's like, I figured the day before would be fine, but it just...
I mean, could it be? You said he has a good relationship with the ex-wife. It could be the opposite. Yeah. I mean, that could just be like, I'm sorry, I didn't want to see your mom for an extra day. I don't know.
That's true.
Like, if that could be a problem that he needs to solve, it might add a little dimension to his character. Again, I would say like, it's almost enough that he's a dick, and he just needs to get somewhere. Like, I think Due Date works for me.
Right.
And that's pretty much the problem. It's like Robert Downey Jr. doesn't have a big conflict with his wife other than like, I'm going to have this baby. You should get here. His conflict is all with, what's his name? Zach Galifianakis.
Yep.
And the fact that his character is like causing problems. So I don't know. I think we can still think that through. I actually don't think it changes a whole lot of what we need to figure out still, which is like the fun and games and how many setbacks does he have?
Yeah.
If it's like 5 or 6 setbacks, let's think of the funniest versions
around
and set
5
pieces.
Setbacks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
I like this. Cut.
That's it. Cool.